So what's up?
Nothing, man. Just hanging out with you.
Yeah, evidently.
Cheers, Friday night
Cheers, man.
podcast.
We're here with Joel Younkins, good friend of mine for a long time. A little backstory, or for anybody that has not heard the show, this has just started. This show's just gotten going. So we were just trying to deal with that little buzz a minute ago, and
Hopefully it's gone.
It's very faint, and
Yeah.
it's an audio buzz that I'm talking about. It's a very faint buzz, but I think I've narrowed it down to a piece of equipment that I need to look into. But regardless, we're here. We got to talk about some stuff, this racing series that we're involved in, and cover some race results. This is the post-race podcast for the Eastern Racing Off-Road Championship, which is called EROC. And as I said, today's guest is Joel Younkins. Joel is a longtime friend, business owner. He's a personal trainer. You like the guys that you train, that they call you coach, though, right?
Yeah, coach, or just my name, or hey,
Or Joel.
you, like
Hey, you.
whatever.
Hey, you. Yeah. But
Yeah,
I've
coach is
heard it.
cool.
I've heard it. I've heard the coach thing, so that's pretty neat. But so let's go back a little ways first and fill people in as to who you and I are. And we grew up in Hubbard, Ohio, all of our life.
Yep.
Our families are married a couple times over,
Yep.
which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
But
Everybody always asks if we're cousins.
yeah.
It's like, no, my cousins with
Yeah.
Brad. And
It's my
always
cousin's cousin.
yeah.
But so the cool thing, though, I mean, there's a lot of cool things happening. Your dad was a superstar dirt bike rider back in the day, in the off-road world. Gary Younkins. Let's start there. Let's start with the pedigree. So, Gary, tell us about, just to gloss over his achievements real quick.
Basically, he rode for John Pettin team back in the 70s. Did the whole 6-day deal, won a bunch of medals, things like that. And then also he worked with my grandpa. They did masonry work, and so, they would work on, during the week and then race on the weekends. It wasn't like today where it's just a full-time job. It's kind of like how we were, we worked during the week and then hopefully get to race on the weekend. But, they were professional racers on the weekend too. So,
Yeah.
He raced for a while. Then I think he got hurt, broke his foot, and then just kind of started working and kind of got out of it, got back into it with the three-wheelers, came around in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Then hopped on four-wheelers for a couple years, and he ended his racing career on two wheels in the early 90s, I think.
Yeah.
So I was born in 88, so I kind of, as I was growing up, kind of caught the tail end of his career here locally and going to the races. And, I didn't really have, I don't want to say much of a choice, but it's just, how it is. Once you're around, it's just, you can't really get away from the whole racing and the racing world, I would say.
Yeah. And I was old enough, because I'm a little bit older. I'm, 7 or 8 years older than you. I'm 40 now. I was at some of those races as a little kid. And so you came along, and then let's fast forward till when did you first start throwing a leg over a bike? You were pretty young when you first
I had a
started.
PW50, and so I was, 4 or 5 at the time.
Yeah.
And my dad still had a bike, so he would take me trail riding. We would go over to Shenango, taught me how to kind of trail ride there, and then he built a track around our property. And so kind of growing up, I got to ride with my dad a lot too, which was cool.
Yeah.
Even as I started getting into bigger bikes, he still had, like a 250F at the time, and we would kind of, after school, and he'd get home from work, we'd go pound out some motos in the backyard, and some cool times, some cool moments. And then I kind of took a break from racing through my 20s. We did a lot of street bike riding together, which was cool as well. And now that I'm back in dirt and he's he's got a bike for every occasion now.
Yeah.
Now we're finding ourselves like riding again on dirt. So it's kind of like come full circle for us. So
Yeah. And now you have kids.
Yep.
And you're getting them into things like on the Stay Six
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. So, I mean, yeah, that's a super summarized, story of your backstory. But so yeah, you and I raced very briefly. We got the chance where you were racing pretty steady, like you were pretty into it, and I was just dabbling. I was just sort of trying it out on two wheels because I messed around on some on a four-wheeler for a while too. But so I think we did a few races together. We traveled to the races together and hung out for I think 1 year, and then a bunch of time went by and I got back into it, and then a bunch of time went by, you got back into it. But it needed to segue into us talking about the series that you and I are now both racing. So EROC, right?
Right.
You had done some other local series for a while, and last year you did a full season, right?
Right. Yeah.
Different series. And you had told me, you were like, I just don't know if I'm ready for EROC. Like I want to keep riding and get your, and I think the reason you said that is just because I think it's pretty well known now that it's a fast series. And what I mean by that is the riders, for a local series, a lot of very fast guys show up. So it seemed to me like you just didn't want to show up and not at least feel race comfortable, right?
Yeah, I would say it's more of, I kind of like found myself committed into another series. I wanted to do EROC kind of all along. I think kind of what I was hearing about EROC was also something I think kind of got me back. It was like a secondary thing of getting me back into riding because I heard of the series that was newer. I wasn't around in my first career.
Right.
But so yeah, it was like kind of all the things that I heard about that I thought would make a cool series like locally, and but I wanted to race kind of like a lot of volume last year because I'd missed so much time off of a bike. I literally wasn't even trail riding. I didn't even own a dirt bike for about really 15 years, and so I wanted to, once I got back into racing, I just wanted to accumulate a lot of volume, just try to get back some of that experience that I lost.
Right.
While everybody else is riding and racing, I was doing other things. So, and then also ultimately, I wanted to, if I was going to do EROC and it's going to be competitive, I wanted to try to,
sharpen the blade.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say there's still a lot of sharpening to do. I think that's kind of the cool thing with riding, and it's the intriguing thing. Like, you're never evolved, and there's always something to work on. So, I like the challenge of it's definitely cool. Like,
it's an obsession, man.
Right.
And it's something that it's hard to get away from. I did it for I think 6 years. I went without a bike, and I had a Harley and did some riding on the street.
Right.
My focus was in other places as well. I got away from it, but
it's like if you don't have a dirt bike, you have to have two wheels of some sort. Whether it's the mountain bikes we did at one time, or your street bike, and
Yeah, and then, but for whatever reason, competing, and, I always talk about this, just the people at the race, the vibe, you show up, it's just a bunch of good people, and everybody's nice, and talks, and laughs, and jokes, and, but when you're out there on the track, you get to compete, you get to shove people around a little bit, and rub elbows, and get that little rush that it seems like most athletes are always chasing. It's like a drug.
Yeah, and I think for pretty much everybody that rides a dirt bike, you're doing it for the adrenaline. You're chasing that feeling of that excitement. So it definitely provides it. So
and always chasing the best version of you.
Yeah.
I compete with myself as much or more than the people around me. You know? I get mad at myself. I just screwed up my last race bad. The first race of the year.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, stupid mistake, but we all do it. But yeah, that's how you get better. You live and learn, and sometimes you live and you don't learn, and you keep making those stupid mistakes.
And I was just talking to one of my clients, and he races, you know, like multiple series, and he's competitive, and then he races quads, and he had a couple bad races, and he's like, man, I'm just, like, it was like one of them races I just wanted to sell everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, but like we have them feelings, but like at the same time, you're chasing that feeling that, doesn't make you want to sell your quad. It's like, it's that ultimate, just, I put everything together today, clicked, good. Like,
Yeah.
that's what we're kind of really chasing when we go racing, I think. Like,
The race where, I think most of us have had the gut check where we've been in the middle of a race. It's been 90 degrees. Like for me, when I get dehydrated or like heat exhaustion, I start getting the chills. My vision gets a little bit messed up. Just having that intestinal fortitude and drive and, whatever it takes to get across the finish line and not question yourself when you're laying in bed that night, wondering if you left something on the table.
Right.
Because I've been there to where I'm like, one time a few years back, I pulled off because I felt it was unsafe for me to keep going. I was so bad as far as heat exhaustion. And that's not my style, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it did bother me to do that, but I was like, I'm going to pass out.
Right.
I just felt I was, you know what I mean? I knew I was flirting with disaster. But that thing we were talking about chasing, when you finish that race and you manage yourself to the point to where you just give it all and you cross the finish line, and then you're like, I beat second place by 10 seconds.
Right.
That guy might have taken a 10-second breather because he was about to pass out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's those races where you're like proud of yourself and you're like, man, I did it.
Yeah.
And then, and you're always chasing that.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's interesting as like, racers and just kind of all athletes, like there's that switch in our brain that gets turned off of like safety kind of goes out the window.
Oh yeah.
To a degree. Like, and
calculated risk.
Yeah, it's like you kind of forget like, like it's smart that you pulled off that race is probably, if that triggered you in your brain, just knowing you, like you were probably pretty close to like causing some long-term damage or something,
right.
so it's probably good. But, I think that's just kind of the interesting thing with athletes and the mentality of like, we see one thing and it's just like, I want to push through the things where your body tells you to shut down. It's protective mechanisms. Mm-hmm. And, our goal is to push through that. And, I think that's just interesting knowing that, you're on the starting line and you're racing against everybody else that thinks just like you. Like we're so much more alike than we are different in racing. And that's something I've learned as I'm getting older and into coaching more and kind of learning like we're all just the same people. Like your competitors are just like you.
Yeah.
And, I think when I was younger, you kind of think everybody's different. Like, oh, they're that football team's from that town, they're different. We're over here like doing it right or something.
Yeah,
but like,
right.
you just realize like everybody's the same and it's like, you're just competing against another version of you. So
yeah,
I don't know where I was going with that point, but
yeah, this happens all the time with the podcast. Yeah, I mean, and I was telling somebody after, again, I'm a rookie at this, but I was explaining it. I think it was a guy I work with. I was like, it is so easy to get off topic.
Oh yeah,
it's so easy to just go from one thing to another thing to another thing. So it would be nice to have some notes or whatever. But one thing I said right out of the gate was I didn't want this to be scripted. I didn't want it to be rehearsed. I wanted it to be organic. Mm-hmm. Let the conversation do what it's going to do, and hopefully we finish points.
Right.
So if we're going to make a point, finish that point. But one thing I definitely do want to get into, we can blab a lot more when we're done, but I want to get into some results from that race.
Do it.
We'll talk about how the day was, how it went for you and I, and we can talk about race results. So what do you have pulled up now?
This is the Pee Wee bike.
Okay, let me see that.
So I think they were the first race of the day, or do they do?
You know what? As far as the schedule goes, I don't really pay attention to the. Once I get there, I got so much going on. I'm not sure what order this stuff goes in, but this is the overall sheet for the Crow Canyon Crusher, which was last weekend. That was May 2nd. It looks like. Now, I don't know if this class has a shortened track or not, but Pee Wee Bike Novice Hare Scramble. Okay, let's see here. They did 6 laps. And let's just start naming names here. Trevor Mitchell with the overall. Dino. Oh, my goodness. McComanaco. I'm going to stick with that. Dino McComanaco. Second. Maddox Hudnall. Third. Hunter Cross. Ryder Zoel. Brooks Boley. I believe that's my friend's boy. That's 6th place overall. Ryder Manley. David Grimm. And Camden White 9th. And Lucas Myers 10th. That's your top 10 overall for the Pee Wee bike. And you know what? If we go over everybody, every class, you know what I mean? That's overall. So there's going to be a mixture because like Pee Wee bike, there's junior, senior, novice. You know what I'm saying? There's different classes in it. But if we cover all classes, it would take us hours. So that's your top 10. Your top 10 overall. Those are usually some pretty stinking fast kids.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's the future right there.
Yeah, typically that is the future. Every once in a while you have a diamond in the rough that's in 20th or 30th and they're just getting started maybe, or maybe they were late to the racing scene and just some parents, like myself and my daughter, I'm not pushing her hard.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
No, I said I told her at the Stasic race, if you don't want to race, don't race. I'm not going to force her and then her not enjoy it.
Right.
So if she likes it, she can.
Yeah, that's what we did with Levi.
Yeah. And I think some kids come around later, and then maybe they are like a 30th place kid right now, and in 2 years they'll be top 5.
Yeah,
that happens too.
Everybody arrives at this is Pee Wee Quad.
Okay. Pee Wee Quad. Clinton Wilson, Logan Trimble, Peyton Dieter, Emmeline Jackson, Zane Sterling, Drew Tomshak, Kendall Redman, Hank Bedner. Let me ask you about this name. Is it Stephen, Stephen?
I got to see it.
Or Stefan? I think it's Stefan. 9th place.
It's not.
Huh?
We shouldn't be playing this game.
That's okay.
Stefan.
Stefan. Hey, you know what? If you
comment down in the comment section,
leave a comment. There is a thing on the podcast where you can ask questions and stuff. So when this gets launched as the audio version into there's 9 podcast platforms, I think there's a place people can go on there and say stuff. So he was 9th, and then Braxton Sterling is your 10th place finisher, and that is Pee Wee Quad, top 10 overall. Looks like let's go over some brands from top to bottom. Honda, Polaris, Kawasaki, Yamaha, Honda, Kawasaki. Wow. I'm trying to think, what would Pee Wee on a Polaris? What are they making? Like 90s? Polaris, not Outlaw 90s?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Not sure though. So this will be youth bike coming up here.
Yeah. So the point is, we're trying to
A
cover.
lot of youth bikes.
Yeah. We're trying to cover as much as we can in a short period of time without it being, monotonous and what have you. But we do want to give a shout out to as many people as possible because this series is growing. Holy smokes.
Yeah, they almost had as many bikes as we did.
Oh my goodness. This is the youth bike. But yeah, this series is growing, and there are so many competitors. Just big bikes, there was 327. I mean, you can't talk about everybody.
And parking was full by the time I got there. Like I showed up pretty early.
Yeah,
And like it was hard to find a parking spot.
yeah, and it's not a tiny place.
So
So again, youth bike, Crow Canyon Crusher. First place overall, Michael Meyer. Then we go down to Kian Rupp, Joshua Verrill, the second, Kian Conry, Matt Alston, Tucker Kenry, John Rutzel. I think I said that right. Colton. Oh my gosh. Motyak. I'm terrible at this.
Don't
Sorry.
ask me.
I am chewing this up. Mason Zoel. And your 10th place, Landon Hanna. And I think there was a total. Again, that was your youth bike. And it looks like Yamaha, Kawasaki, Husky, Kawasaki, Husky, Yamaha, KTM. That's your top 10. But these guys did 4 laps. I believe they do the full big bike track?
No.
No? Okay.
Pretty sure they don't.
I'll have to find out some more of the details about that. But
I'd have to assume they don't.
no, they can't because it's only 43 minutes. So they finished their race in 43 minutes with 4 laps.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah. If they did that, they'd be faster than all of us. But
Some maybe are.
good on those guys. Congratulations to your top 10 youth bike. Now, for the people who aren't familiar with Crow Canyon is a motorcycle club, piece of property that they run as a club. And they have a little motocross track. I shouldn't say little, but it's not a national track. But they have a motocross track there. They have miles of woods, and it's got great terrain, a lot of elevation change. So, and it's in Ohio, northeast Ohio. So you have Ohio dirt, rocks, roots, a little bit of everything. That track is definitely one of my favorites because it's got it all.
Yeah, it definitely did have it all. It was, you kind of can feel the different little bit of like terrain changes as you kind of navigated around the property too a little bit. So, like with the trails, like where, like if we were on fresh things, the dirt was really good. Like some of them, like long uphills we were doing,
Right.
that dirt was awesome. Just like traction everywhere.
Yeah. What do we got next?
Youth quad.
Youth quad.
Yeah.
All right, top 10 overall youth quad. Jammin'. I love that name.
Yeah.
Jammin' Brown. Braylon. I like Braylon. That's close to a name that we had a bunch of names picked out when she was pregnant.
Right.
Braylon Preston. Colton Redmond. We said Redmond earlier, so maybe it's a brother. Lexi Ruckdeschel. Deschel. Ruckdeschel.
That's a cool name.
Deschel. Lexi. Or the last name.
The last name.
Ruckdeschel. Sounds right. Ava Wolf in 5th. Bryce Bender 6th. Race Blaney in 7th. Grace Bender in 8th. And Jaden Pinkerton 9th. And your top 10, Ryan Becker 10th. Overall, that is your youth quad.
Was the Wolf, do you think that's a relation to
was it Brian?
Yeah.
Brian Wolf that did the big quads? Is that the right name?
Yeah, I think so.
Might be. Might be a son. I don't know. I stopped following racers and series and stuff like that a while back, so I'm kind of out of touch. I just get the highlights. I'll check in on some GNCC stats here and there, but that's about it.
Right. Adult bike.
Oh, adult bike.
Brad Orr at the top.
Yeah, right. Maybe in another life. Mason Atherton. Now, obviously, everybody's heard of Mason. He's been around a long time, and he's been on the top of the EROC overall quite a few times. Tom Truxell, second place. Kevin Coffey, third. Jake Logan, who is on my team, Team Moto Zealy, fourth overall. Ty Miles in fifth. Nate Miser in sixth. Kyle Struble in seventh. Jeff Bowman, also Moto Zealy, Team Moto Zealy racer, eighth place overall. Mason George in ninth.
It's one of my guys.
That goes to JYT? Nice. Yeah. And Anthony Burbick in 10th overall. Now, I can tell you that I've banged bars with most of these guys. Not Mason, not Truxell, but these guys are all really good riders. But I'm looking below them, and there are so many. I've said this time and time again, but the talent goes on and on and on. The people that are capable of winning, like this top 10 will not be the same next round. There'll be a lot of the same names, but these people move around a lot. There's so many people that are close in speed, but next round also I'm gonna plug the pro round, and I just heard. I'm trying to think of the source so I can confirm, but I just heard that quite a bit more money got pumped into this.
Oh, that's at Lisbon?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and the pro round is basically there's just a bunch of cash to be had. And if I'm not mistaken, all the pro rounds are scheduled around the national series, the GNCC, so they schedule around that. So these guys have the opportunity to come and make some money.
Right on.
So, yeah, that's the Lisbon Log Hopper. I think that's the 16th. But, yeah. We'll get through the big quads.
We're not going to talk about them, right?
What, big quads?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we'll leave them out.
Made it all this way to not talk about them.
Yeah.
Here we go. Some familiar names there.
Okay. Kevin Yoho, Nick Davidson, Cody Forster, Jessica Ilioff, Nick Mastrangelo, Colin Brooks, Chris Leake, Logan Case, Justin Willis, and Drew Blackley. That's your top 10 overall on the big quads. Now, Kevin Yoho, same thing. Name has been around quite a long time. I know he was a national guy. I'm sure. And I just started hearing about Jessica Ilioff. Again, not because she's not super popular, but just because I don't follow quads closely. But she is top 4 overall big quad.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Right.
I mean, geez. She's got to be moving.
Even on, like, the bike side, I mean...
Oh, to boot, I'm sorry, Joel.
Sure.
To boot, she's in QXC1A. She was not in pro. She beat several pros, so she's the amateur overall.
Oh, nice.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Guys, you got some work to do. That's awesome.
Yeah, even, like... The girls on the bikes, you know, on the national level, like, just straight up beat Ryan Sipes, Travis Pastrana last weekend.
Yeah.
Like, they're flying. Like,
they are. I mean,
and
Pastrana, you know, he's definitely out of his element, but he can do. The guy has talent on anything he rides.
Right.
that's a given. But
And
give
Ryan
them.
Sipes was just battling XC1 wins for the wins not long ago.
Yeah,
So you don't like forget how to ride. Over a couple
I do.
years.
Give me 2 weeks, I'll show you.
But
Yeah,
it's cool. It's cool to see they take it serious. And
yeah.
So
No,
props to 'em.
I've gone and done some nationals, and those girls haul the mail.
Yeah.
They haul the mail. But all right, so we covered the finishers. I want to talk a little bit more just about the series, a little bit more about Crow Canyon and how that race went. Now, I want to get your perspective coming from these other local series. You load up. It's round 1. I'm sure you've been looking forward to it. You've been going out there tweaking the bike, checking it out, staring at it, getting all pumped up. And then you load up the morning of pulling in. Walk me through what it looked like, smelled like, sounded like, up to sign up. How'd your day go?
So pulling in, there was already a line coming out onto the road. So you had a little bit of wait just to get into the facility.
And you were very early, you said. Pretty early.
Pretty early.
A couple hours, right?
Yeah.
Two,
Earlier
3
than I would usually want to get to a race. But just knowing it was going to be packed, I just decided to go earlier, get set up. Also try to hit the Stasic race as well. But so yeah, pull in. Kind of a long line, but it's going quick. They have multiple ladies out there working, taking, sign-ups, paying, and things like that. So that all went really smooth. I was pretty impressed there. And once you kind of went through that little, like, shaded area through the drive, and you kind of make that turn, and all of a sudden, like, I didn't even know where I was for a minute because, like, I didn't know where the track was. I just seen a row and, like, or a road, and literally just, like, cars and campers on both sides of me, and I just start following parking signs, which was cool. Like, that was a nice little touch. Like,
Right.
I noticed EROC does a lot of things where it's like little touches, just little details that you could tell they were pre-planned, and like, just they're trying to add a professional element to it.
Right.
So that was all really cool. It's makes you want to do your part as a racer to invest in yourself, so that like when you go to these races, it's like you're showing up to something cool.
You're just as legit as the series, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would say like if you feel like you're putting in your own effort, like they're at least matching it like twice. So.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so definitely had like a GNCC vibe. I've been to GNCCs before.
Music jamming.
Yeah, like you hear announcers, like it's kind of like a little smaller version of it, but
Yeah.
it had the same vibe as it.
Mm-hmm.
Sign-ups were actually like overly organized, like a lot of signs. Like I actually had to like read like where to go, and
But at least you could figure it out without asking. Yeah.
right. Like it was almost a little overwhelming. Like like I start reading signs, like I'm not used to doing this, and like
You're gonna see a rock. Lift that rock. You're gonna find a key.
Yeah,
Take that
yeah,
key.
yeah. So it was just cool. It was organized. Obviously a lot of people there, and track was good. It was a fun track.
Before we get there, let's talk
Okay.
about the transponders, because we did have
yeah.
a hiccup. We had a little hiccup, which they just invested in the top of the line transponder system, which is extremely accurate and extremely dependable. All they had to do was a software update. It took like a half hour, and obviously because of the volume of people that were there, they were a little behind schedule. So compound those things. It put the
Which
race.
any racer kind of expects round one to always be a little delayed, I think.
But once we got those things clipped on the bikes, those transponders, I mean, I was going through and mine was like bing, bing, bing. Like I saw the guys ahead of me. That was a big deal for me. Like when I heard that they invested in that system, I was so pumped, because I've personally, for whatever reason, had so many issues with transponders.
Yeah, and even like they could do the adjusted, like overall.
Yeah, adjusted time.
You can see all your lap times, the breakdowns.
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful. I mean, because otherwise you're just kind of going in blind and hoping that someone's snatching lap times of you. It's right. You can't see them on the other systems, like with the stickers.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see all that, right? It just results. It's like results and like finish time.
You know what?
Like I don't remember seeing it.
I'm not certain about that.
Because I think with, obviously we definitely don't sound like we know what we're talking about right now, but
That's all right. We're not pros at anything, right?
The transponder, I'm pretty sure that one, like you can see the breakdown of all your lap times.
Yeah, I can't remember what the name of the system is, but this new one, it's so accurate, and it breaks down everything. It shows you click on this, it shows you every detail about your race.
Yeah. As a racer, that's cool. It's like,
yeah, it is
kind
cool.
of be analytical and remember like what lap you thought you did good, and
And you're like, oh, I thought I went faster that one.
oh yeah,
And you're like,
I already did that.
Guess it wasn't. But like me, we'll talk about my mistake. I just straight up went the wrong way. A banner went down. Somebody blew a banner.
That would be so easy to do there though, because of all the trails.
And that's most places.
Yeah.
Most places, unless you find a piece of property that's all virgin terrain, you're gonna run into that where you better be paying attention to the arrows. And that was my fault. I wasn't paying attention to the arrows. I was paying attention to the guy in front of me. He made a wrong move because a banner went down. Someone ran a banner over.
What lap was that?
That was I think it was towards the end of lap 2. And then lap 3.
Yeah, I kind of told my dad like you had to almost.
Or no, maybe it was during lap 3. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you kind of had to keep reading the arrows all day long. Like it wasn't just lap 1 and you just kind of check out and just where the track's going.
No.
Like you had to have your head on the swivel because there were so many other trails, and you know, I think a couple other guys would blow in turns, and it would almost look like the track would go one way because a couple people would blow a turn and come back on. But yeah, it'd be easy to do.
And you know what? Somebody that's been around it as long as I have, I should have known better. And I did. Like, I had an intuition. My gut was like, Brad, you messed up. Turn around. And I just kept, like, putting behind this guy. I kind of I backed off, and I was like, you just made a huge mistake. And then when I realized where I was trying to get reoriented. I'm like, this is wrong. Something's wrong. We picked up the trail, and then I tried to figure out, like, okay, where on the track, because what I didn't want to have happen was me get an advantage where I was like half a track ahead of people, and then I would really be screwed. So I told myself, if I go through the checkpoint and it says I'm in the lead, I'm going to wait until I see second place just to make sure, you know what I mean? Like, I knew I messed up royally, but regardless, huge mistake on my part. I should have known better. I should have corrected it. Water under the bridge, and, I won't do that again. If I ever feel like something's messed up, I am going to turn around and go the exact way I came in.
So that happened to me last year at the Little Beaver place. It wasn't EROC. It was another round or another series, but the dust was so bad that day that on the first lap, I totally... like the dust was so bad I couldn't see arrows and didn't have it ribboned off. So I kind of went down an old trail and I kind of hopped back on like the track, and I realized I was up in the row ahead of us, which would have been the A class there. And I'm like, man, I think I just cut like a whole section. So I went to the finish, waited, basically what you were going to do, and like just waited like 30 seconds. And I thought I was in first. Somehow I was still in second or whatever. And, kind of come to find out after the race, like everybody had issues and the quads were even worse. And so,
yeah, that stuff happens.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but like sometimes you can't, like, it's part of the game, I think, in woods racing.
Yeah. But you know what? The next lap I went through, there was no banners down. So somebody got on it. The track marshals.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Yeah. They have track marshals out there, and they're riding the course while we're racing, and they are making sure banners are up. They're making sure people aren't cutting the track. They do the best job they can at policing things.
Yeah, for sure. It was cool. I caught a couple of moments where, like, the instances where you would see people blowing a turn, and like the next lap you'd come around and it was all ribbon back off. So that was refreshing. It's like nobody wants to race and waste your time because no one's on the track. So
cheating.
You want to keep it fair.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, another thing, I messed up earlier in the race, and
just get it all out on the table.
Yeah. No, it's fine, man, because you know what? I talked to the guy after the race. Dave Patterson. I didn't really know him before, but I talked to him, and super nice guy. I talked to several of the guys that were in my class. He was in front, and I was looking for a place to pass, and I started charging hard going up this trail, and he just dove off to the left, and I just kept my speed. And I tried saying, I noticed as soon as he turned, I noticed that like I blew the turn, and I was like, I'll go this way. Like, tried to get him to just go that way, which was incorrect, but I didn't want to gain an advantage. So what I did was I cut like a U out where I was supposed to go down and around. So I just rode up to the end and I waited for him.
Yeah.
And he come up the hill and, gave me some little signals like, hey, cool. And then after the race, he was like, yeah, good on you for doing that. And,
right.
Mistakes like that do happen. But unfortunately, in this type of racing, a lot of people take advantage of parts of the track where they see they can just take a whole section out, and they will do it, and some people get away with it.
Almost like they just think it's normal.
Yeah.
So
I understand playing within the rules.
Those people only go so far in life anyway.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
I think it evens itself out.
That's right. But, playing within the rules, you read the rule book. If you go inside of an arrow, 10 feet or whatever it says, 20 feet, I don't think it's 20, but I got to check. But there's an arrow on a tree, and they 20. Say, is it 20 for EROC?
20 from, I think.
Because different series, I think, have different rules. But one arrow, because there's two arrows, you have to go between them.
Yeah, it's 20 from the arrow, or whatever the distance is.
I'll double check on it just to be sure, but assuming it is, you're allowed.
Right.
You're allowed 20 feet. So in that case, it doesn't bother me whatsoever as long as you're playing within the rules.
Yep.
But something I did want to talk about is passing and being passed. I want to talk about this in depth, and I'm hoping that some of the listeners, there's some newer racers out there or less experienced racers that hear this, and I'm hoping that this word gets out. It can be extremely dangerous when people don't understand the passing thing. We are going between trees at a pretty high rate of speed a lot of times. There's some sections that are slower, obviously, but so many times you have inexperienced racers out there that hear you coming and they'll look over their shoulder. And when they look over their shoulder, they move.
Yeah.
Exactly. That happened to me twice, and I got furious, and I screamed at the dudes. Nothing rude, but I was like, just hold your line. I said something like that. Like, just. So the message is, if I'm that guy and I hear someone coming up on me, say I'm favoring the left side of the trail, just stay on that side of the trail. Don't dart to the right, Don't slam on your brakes.
Or I think the easiest thing, or the nicest thing is, just if, they're the lapper or they're the one getting passed, is just quick point. Like, I'm staying here, you go here.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Even though it's not necessary, there's nothing wrong with that. And that does work. But it also is slightly dangerous if you're holding any speed and that dude wants to take his hand off the bars. If that guy's going and he's got his stuff under control and he wants to point, sure.
Right.
But also, if you're coming through at a high rate of speed, you might take his arm off.
I've had guys, though, too, like they're over on the right side. I'm coming up on the left and they hear me coming and then they dart to the left.
That's my point, yeah. Like, don't feel like you have to, make any sort of extreme movements. Don't stop fast. Don't. Some guys
want to... Yeah, that's worse, too, when they just stop.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I've hit people.
Yeah.
Or and I like if I'm coming up on someone making a pass and they're racing me, like, and they don't want me to pass and I'm just forcing the issue, I'll still say
fair game.
I'll say like inside. I don't even know if they understand what I'm saying, but I'll yell it. I'll be like, inside. Like, they might be thinking, do you want me to go on the inside or are you going on the inside? But I did it a couple times that last race, and
yeah, I think that's helpful for the most part.
yeah,
Either way, whether you're doing the passing or getting passed, like, just kind of have like a sense of who's doing what.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times too, the lines all start kind of crossing together, and and then there's always the race line, which is the fast line, which you want to be in if you're passing people.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like, you may come up on somebody, if they're hanging out in the race line, they want you to pass them in the slow, bad
Nasty
line, and you're trying to pass them, but they're just kind of looking over at you, like,
yeah.
you gonna pass me?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I'm trying. This is hard.
Yeah. But that's just the main thing is people need to take the time to think about that stuff. The less experienced riders and racers, I'm not saying this that I'm the best dude in the world at all. I'm just saying that I've had incidents with people that it was extremely dangerous because they obviously didn't have a full understanding of what the safest way is to manage a race.
And that's key what you said is like the safety and danger. Like, that's what will make you mad more so than blowing your race.
Right.
It's, like, the sport's already dangerous enough. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to, like, take each other out.
Yeah. If I was 15, I probably wouldn't care. But I'm 40, and it takes me a month to heal if I pull a muscle or something. Yeah, people just got to be cognizant of that and do a little bit of thinking and understand that there is an etiquette. A lot of people don't. They say racing's racing.
Right.
People definitely have a different approach.
There's different races going on within the race.
Yeah. Yeah. But for me personally, I think people need to think about that and to understand that if you hear someone coming up on you, if they're coming up on you fast, they are going to get around you. So they're either going to pass you clean and you ain't going to have to do anything, or you're going to yield and just check up a little bit and hold your line and let them by, or you're going to try and race them. And if you're much slower, chances are that dude's going to boot you off the track. I mean, the real fast guys don't play like that.
Yeah, they're not. No, yeah.
They're just like, I'm going to take the inside, and you're going to be my berm.
Yeah, they're not playing any games, so.
Yeah.
Especially go to these pro races, and they're handing money out.
Yep.
It's,
Yep. It's on, dude.
Yeah.
If you're just going to be used as a berm,
Yep.
or you're going to be used as traction if you don't move. And like I said, nothing extreme. Just keep your elbows in. Don't ride a wide bike. Don't be moving all over the place. And
yeah, and the top guys are good enough riders too. Where, like, don't worry about them. Worry about them, but, like,
yeah, they'll manage it.
Yeah, like, they're good riders, so you're in good hands. It's not like someone really sketchy is coming up on you fast, and they're gonna, like, don't be scared about getting taken out by them. Yeah. That's probably not gonna happen.
Yeah, and another thing too is the guys that want to race you that are way slower. Hey, we're all there to race. That's your right. You have the right to race anybody, right? Mm-hmm. But you do have to consider this. You will ruin someone's race. If you're all over the track and just you're blocking someone because you think it's the way that you should do it, first of all, you're not going to win that race because if you have an hour to go, that guy's going to get around you. Again, he'll use you for traction. But those guys, they say, oh, here's a straightaway. I'll race them. Like, you catch them in 2 seconds flat.
Yep. And
then they get a straightaway and they want to continue to race you instead of let you by. Well, if you hold this guy up for 3 seconds, I mean, you could have ruined he might have been 3 seconds behind the leader.
Yeah.
So those things happen too.
Sure.
But I guess you got to take the good with the bad, and do what you can. I hate to sound like I'm just complaining. I really do. But it's mostly the safety thing for me.
Yeah, and I think just as racers, everybody being on the same page, maybe just people that are newer to the sport, and they don't get it because you only know what you know. So if they're out there not sure how to get lapped, like on the same sense, like, if you don't know, you just don't know. Like,
Yeah, and
you can't relate to it because you're not in that position of you don't lap people.
Yeah.
So if you're getting lapped, you're like, there could be some confusion. So
yeah,
that's fair play.
we've
as
all
well.
been there. We've
Yeah.
all been beginners. And like I said, everybody does manage their race different. That's your right.
And we want people to get into the sport as well. Like, I think all, dirt bike, quad enthusiasts, like, we like to see people get involved and buy dirt bikes and come to the races. So,
Yeah, but we all want them to go home healthy too.
Right.
At the end of the day and safe. So that's that. As far as that track, I asked you about how your day went. I mean, pulling in, and like I said, because when I was thinking about it, pulling in, that thing, it seems like it's drifting down a little bit. You can yank it up if you need to. But like when I pulled in, I always look around. I'm paying attention to every little detail, and I get pumped when I see banners everywhere.
oh yeah,
The music's jamming, and you hear some guy over the loudspeaker, and you smell two-stroke or race gas in the air, and you hear bikes firing up and warming up, and man, that is just like a drug for me.
right.
I guarantee if you could figure out what chemicals being released, I'm dumping chemicals when I'm pulling.
Dopamine.
Is it dopamine?
Yeah.
But it's dumping something
That or
because
serotonin.
yeah, I don't know. I get fired up. I'm like, whoo, and I'm 40, dude. Like it's like day one every time. Every time I
Yeah,
pull
that will
in.
never go away.
No.
Like, that's when you know you're hooked. So
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. It's definitely, it was a good vibe, and yeah, between the people, like the people showing up and the people working it.
The teams is another thing. I wanted to touch on that. There was the vendor. They had it set up so the team pits and the vendor row was on the same road. So when you walk down that road, it was blocked off, and all the teams were over here. They had their tent set up and all their bikes set up. And then across from that was all the vendors. So they had goggles and oil and this guy and that guy. And you had a spot there. Joel Younkins Training, because you sponsor the series.
Right.
So they hook you up with a vendor spot if you wanted to sell any of your products there. That's super awesome too. Just giving back to the people that are given to you.
Right.
Making sure they're taken care of.
Yeah, good opportunities for people.
Yeah. The whole local race team thing is absolutely awesome. I'm digging it, and I'm so pumped to be part of it. Racing out of...
Yeah, because that was a big thing a while ago, wasn't it, in the sport?
Yeah.
Was it early 90s, mid 90s, when there was a lot of dealership teams, and then it kind of went away for a while.
Yeah. I can't pinpoint like exactly when it was strong, but there was definitely more of a local shop presence, I feel like, and more local shop support back then. And that's kind of where, when I was thinking of doing this whole team thing, I'm thinking back, like, these shops, they used to be so much more involved. And then, okay, so what went wrong? Where did we go from there? Well, the internet happened, and everybody's buying everything online. And, well, it's important to keep these bike shops around. It's important to keep the doors swinging and the money flowing. So we have places to buy our dirt bikes.
Right.
I think it's still pretty cool to go to a shop to pick my parts up and talk to people. Call me old. You know what I mean? I do. I enjoy going there.
The human connection.
Yes, absolutely. It's something that the younger people today just are out of touch with. So crank that thing tight. That'll help you a little bit. But for the people that are just listening, we have mic stand that's drifting down a little bit. We're trying to fix here.
It's all good.
Yeah, we're squared away now. But, yeah, I don't even remember what I was talking about. I had
Bike shops.
yeah, yeah. It's
Buying
important.
parts.
It's important, man. These young kids got to realize that it's necessary. These shops have to stick around. Go in and support them and spend some money. Get to know the people that are running the shops. And a lot of people, when they learned about Team Moto Zealy forming, my inbox on my social media was blowing up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. People were like, hey, man, what's the deal with this team? Hey, how do I get on this team? Hey, my son is, whatever, and we're looking for something like this. And I was getting kind of overwhelmed and just responding to these guys like, hey, look, we are developing this thing. It's not written in stone, but the team is already formed for this year. All I could tell you is go into the shop. If you're interested in Yamahas, go into Moto Zealy, talk to those guys, introduce yourself, tell them what series you run, start showing them results. Go in there and say, hey, man, I ran the whatever series and I got third place, and show them some pictures or tag them on social media. If they say, hey, John Smith came in here a couple times. Did you see he raced the, whatever race and, and he tagged us on Facebook. Like when you put yourself out there like that, it's an eye opener, and they're going to say that kid's trying. He's putting forth the effort, and that's the type of person you want to support.
And I think from like a business side, I think what a lot of people need to realize, and especially racers, a lot of racers were all geared to thinking like, we want free stuff. Like, just give me free stuff. And like, like on the other end of that is a company. That is a company. And it's like, well, okay, I'll give you stuff, but like, what are you going to do for me?
Right.
And no one really says that, but at the end of the day, that's really what sponsorships are. Like, it's basically advertisement. So it's like, what is that company getting in return? And if, you're able to provide that company a return some way, maybe have like a YouTube vlog and like you can plug them into, a popular vlog, or like what's the leverage to help these dealerships out? Like what's the incentive for them to help you out? Like what's their return?
Exactly. And that's, you could relate that to what we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. This podcast, the road I'm trying to take this podcast down is to get people like yourself on here and showcase your business. I'm scratching your back, you're scratching my back. We are helping other local businesses. They are helping me. If you're a sponsor of the series and you say, hey, I want to be on the post-race podcast, or, hey, I just want to come on the podcast that doesn't have to do with EROC. Right now, I'm committed to doing this for this race series, but it's just going to be a regular podcast as well. So I have a few friends lined up that are local business owners, and it's a local effort, and that the whole point is I scratch your back, you scratch my back, we grow together. The more, what's the high tide rises all ships?
Yeah, rising tide.
Yeah.
Floats all ships, or however you want to spin
he
it.
who has many holes in boat sinks, I don't know.
Small holes sinks big ships.
Yes. We might have to edit that part. Yeah, our comedy's not on point right now, but yeah, I mean, it's effective, and like you said, you want to be like, hey, give me free this, give me free that, but
it's like, well, why should I?
I don't care if you're the fastest guy. I don't care if you're number one at the track. If you're an a-hole, you know what I mean. You have to represent well.
Yeah.
You have to be personable. You have to be that guy that if you're 12 years old, like one of the Deegans, he's got a few kids. I don't even know all their ages, but let's say 12, 14 years old, right? You know how many 8-year-olds look up to that kid?
Oh yeah.
They look up to him like he's a god.
Yeah, begging, their parents that have no idea what a dirt bike is
Right.
to go buy a dirt bike.
Yeah, so that kid has
Leverage.
a lot. Well, he's got leverage, but he's got a lot of responsibility too.
Yeah, that too.
If he was a big idiot, first of all, he wouldn't be where he's at. And I don't even know much about them. I catch tiny videos here and there, but there's a way to do it. And you gotta represent well and be positive. You can't just go out there and be like, I'm fast, give me free stuff.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
And that's, I think, that was the point I was kind of thinking about, like, it has to be a mutual relationship between rider and company. So whether it's, a local, bike shop or a gear sponsorship, like, there needs to be that open line of like, yeah, you're doing good, I want to help you out, give you some stuff, and then, in return, like, represent that company well. I think, it's not just, hey, I'm a pro, or I'm this, I'm that, I'm entitled to have free stuff.
Yeah.
Like the entitlement thing, I think, needs to
go away.
Yeah, for
That'd
sure.
be nice.
And like, because I think we look up to people that get sponsored. You look at the top, like the highest part of the sport, where everything, like, they're not just getting gear deals, they're getting big money deals along with wearing that gear. So we see that as the pinnacle. I think a lot of riders just get lost in translation of like, well, I want to get free stuff too. How do I get free stuff? And, it's just different levels.
There's a way.
Yeah.
There is a way, but it's not necessarily just being fast and cocky about it and, feeling entitled. But let's switch gears. I want to talk a little bit more about your business. Again, your grandpa, your mom, your dad, all business owners, and then you. What's funny is I remember you as a kid being pretty young, like back when we started riding dirt bikes and racing a little bit. You were so quiet. You were so quiet. And I remember talking to your mom and dad, and I'm like, I'll get him to talk. I'll get him to talk.
The funny thing is, like, I'm super introspective, like, in my head. Like, I have all these thoughts going on in my head, like a conversation in my head at all times.
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of times, I think when I was younger, it wasn't that I, like, wanted to be quiet or shy. I didn't realize I was not talking, like, as much as what, like, as you get older and you're like, oh, I should probably start communicating these thoughts in my head more. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, as you got older and you became an adult, then we started to align more, because I was definitely, excuse me, I was definitely an adult when you were still pretty young.
Yeah, I was a kid then.
I'm not much older, 7 or 8 years, like I said, but it's a big deal when you're like, real young. So I was just like, yeah, he's quiet. But anyway, going on, you played football in high school, racing, and you've matured and grown up and all this stuff, and now owning a business. What a huge difference from then till now. It's crazy. It is crazy. And I want to talk about like your journey. Like, what made you decide to do that? You played football, you went to college, you did some like what was that program called that you were in for?
Exercise science at the time. They call it something different now, but I'm not even sure.
You want another drink?
Yeah.
I'll grab you one. Tell me about exercise science.
So basically, exercise science is a 4-year degree, pretty heavily driven to get you prepared to be like a physical therapist. But like, if you want to become a strength and conditioning coach or personal trainer, a lot of people go down that avenue with it. So that's kind of what I got my degree in. Well, I did get my degree in it. But my main thing was always football, to be honest. Like, I loved racing, and like racing was awesome. But I also love football. I was good enough at it to where like I could watch TV and be like, I would either see guys play on college or even NFL and be like, yeah, that's me. I could do that one day. And with racing, like I would just watch and be like, oh, this is so cool. Like, how does Jeremy McGrath so cool? Like, I'll never be able to jump a triple like he does. Like it was more of like the super, like this cool factor to me, to where football was more of this, like, this is what I'm doing and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of like, that's the mentality you need to have to go achieve something. And so that's kind of where my racing kind of took a huge halt when I was about 16. College recruiters start coming in, and my coaches, they always kind of gave me crap about riding dirt bikes. So I would race through the spring. Then right around like when July would hit and football would start ramping up, more, we'd put the bikes away until next year. So I was only able to race for a few months, stop football season just to focus on that, to be fair, and not to get yelled at by my coaches. But then college recruiters start coming in, and they're like, yeah, racing won't give you a college scholarship. And we kind of laughed at that at first, like, well, yeah, no crap, like,
Yeah.
but Ricky Carmichael's making all this money.
Yeah.
Not that that was my track, but like, so you just kind of take it. And I remember just me and my dad talking, and it was just like, yeah, maybe we should just put the bikes away, just to like, you have an opportunity to go, get your school paid for. And eventually is what happened. Got a scholarship to play at Youngstown State. Redshirted my first year, but I played really early. Freshman.
Now, what's that mean?
So redshirt year is basically like you get another year of eligibility. Like you don't play, but you're on the team and you practice and everything.
Okay.
But then you get like another freshman year, and then it's like a total of 5 years you have.
Okay.
But you can't play like your first year. Then from there, I was able to play and played early. I got to play at Ohio State, and we played at Pitt, and got to travel around and go to some different campuses and play in different cities. And then I think it would have been right before my junior year. Hurt my back, getting ready for the next season coming up, and that was kind of all she wrote for the football career. It was just couldn't really ever rehab it enough to come back and be able to play. And
in the amount of time that you would have had to do it, right?
Yeah, it was just like, I can get it to a certain point to where it would feel good, but it was just like, I kept telling my trainer, I was like, I was like, I don't know if I would make it a whole series without having to come bent over walking off the field. Like, it just never got to that point. And, you do the whole chiropractor thing, physical therapy. They do all the injections. I was like one step away from, getting surgery. I met with a surgeon for, your back. And he basically told me, he's like, whether we do surgery or we don't, you're going to be in the same place in 5 to 10 years. This is more for like older people.
Wow.
Kind of like thing. So, it was a pretty, I wasn't not the only one that had that happen to me, and I won't be the last, but definitely put my career at a halt. And in that time, we were getting new coaching staff, and it was like, by that point, as a senior, like, they were already moved on from all of our people. And I just took a medical leave and started working in the strength and conditioning department. And the staff I worked for, long story short, was with all the team sports other than football. So up to this point in my training world, all I know is training for football. So that was a cool experience to learn. Hang on.
Take a swig.
That was a cool experience to learn, just be able to work with other athletes, be exposed to, you'd have like baseball, basketball, cross country, tennis, all the other sports like I didn't even know we had on campus.
Yeah.
I got to work with a little bit as an intern, and from there it was just pretty much like I was in full coaching mode.
Yeah.
I needed something to kind of distract my mind from not being able to play, and
so
that's how I dealt with it.
You graduated college, you finished up football, you said, okay, this isn't going to happen. You decided that you needed to part ways with it.
Mm-hmm.
Got out of college. You didn't go get a job and just, ride it out. You decided at some point, hey, I know enough and I'm confident enough and have enough experience that I think I could do some sort of program or training or whatever. So what was the initial thought? What was the initial business model? And from that, did it change a lot?
Oh yeah. So initially, a lot of people like in my shoes that are former college athletes, they kind of go down the college strength and conditioning route. I knew enough just from coaching there and being there that wasn't going to be my route. I think it's awesome, but you don't really have a lot of control over your programs per se. Like if there's a coach who comes in, they may tell you, hey, I want him to do this. And, your philosophy may be like, well, that's stupid. Why would we do that? But that head coach has to will maybe tell you what to do, and you have to kind of maybe do their program. There's a lot of politics in it.
Yeah.
You can get fired over if a coach doesn't like you, things like that. It just depends. It's like, to me, like, I didn't want to be mixed up in that world. I was like, if I'm going to do this, I just want to do it my way.
Yeah.
So I honestly knew enough that I just didn't know a lot, but I knew I was going to figure this out. So, I know I wanted to go in the private sector. I wanted to have some sort of, my own place, my own facility. And I knew I wanted to work with racers, too. That was something early on I established, I wanted to work with racers just because I could. If I did my own thing, I could work with whoever I wanted. Mm-hmm. So I want to specialize in working with racers too, and really just started the JYT out of my parents' basement. We had some workout equipment down there, and I was like, "Hey mom, hey dad, can I start training people out of the basement?"
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they didn't know I would actually do something with it, or if it would just be a buddy or something coming over working out. If I was really that serious.
I came over once.
They were like, "Yeah, sure, go for it." And so, they were cool enough to let me have people show up at the house and come down the other door. And I needed a name for it. This is a cool little maybe trivia here. I came up I needed a name because I was creating a Facebook page at the time, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do. I need a name, and I was like, well, I liked Joe Gibbs Racing. It was just clean, and then they can go JGR. Mm-hmm. And I was like, Joel Younkins Training. And they can say JYT for short. I'm like, done. And then it kind of stuck. I was like, I'll just do this for now, and I can always change it down the road. And
nice.
People just start saying, yeah, JYT, and then I made a logo, and just one thing after another. You just start, and
You ended up getting a building.
Yeah. So I don't own the building, but I have a cool little space in Middle Ridge, Ohio, just outside of Youngstown, and it's a warehouse space. Cool little spot. Get to do kind of everything I need to do.
So tell me about a little bit the variety of people that come in there and the types of programs that you're doing for them. So you have dirt bike racers. Mm-hmm. You have mothers that just want to get in shape.
Right.
You have guys like me. I'm a dirt bike racer too, but I don't train there. But I mean, you've got all walks of life, right?
You got team sport athletes. So my background is in team sport athletes. That's where my philosophy kind of originates at.
Okay.
So, we'll train a lot of team sport athletes, mostly junior high through high school. I have some college athletes that go away to college and then on their break they'll come back. But we have a lot of them. Nice, solid handful group of some really good racers. Some of them are pro and compete at some of the highest levels you can. And then we have general population people where they just want to come in and get a good workout in, get some results, and they don't want to go to a 24/7 gym and really just kind of feel lost. They just Joel, just tell me what to do, I'll do it, and
some people need that. Mm-hmm. Some people just don't have either the knowledge.
It's a structure they're looking for.
Yeah,
they don't want to guess. A lot of times people go to the gym and, oh, what should I do today? And then they pick something, and then it's like, well, should I walk on the treadmill or maybe I should run? Should I do it for 30 minutes? Should I do it for 20 minutes? And it's like, when you start playing that guessing game in your head and you're like, there's that hesitation, you're not fully buying into it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like being like an athlete. Like, you need to have that switch that just goes off and go.
Yeah.
And it's the same with training. Like,
I'll tell you what, training was a lot easier for me when I was younger.
mm-hmm.
And I don't just mean physically. I mean, like, I think it has a lot to do with hormones. You know, when I was younger, you know, back in the military days, it was so easy to get, like, I could get fired up. I could get so fired up.
Yeah.
You know.
So all your levels were still on the incline peaking.
Gosh, dude. I mean, I was like a flipping rocket back then. And now, like, if to go jogging, I'm like grabbing myself by my shirt, pulling myself out of the house, and I'm like, just do it.
Yeah. And age is definitely, like, you know, a thing. And what a lot of people, I think, as they age, what we don't realize is the level of responsibilities we start to accumulate over life grows significantly. So it leaves less time and energy to, you know, feel the way you did. Like, if you were in the military, like, what other things did you have to worry about while you were there?
That's true.
So, like, all of your energy is going into, you know, your workouts, whatever you guys were doing at the time, to where it's like, now think about, like, your life today. You have a daughter, you have a job, you're a full-time professional racer, podcaster. Like, you have all these other things going on that's all sucking energy from you.
Oh, my gosh.
So, you know, you have to kind of
my world,
pick and choose.
A little glimpse into my world for people that
Music.
Yeah, music. Good Lord. I mean,
I remember when you were playing shows and then waking up and racing. I'm like, dude, how's Brad doing that?
yeah, zombie. I was in zombie mode.
Yeah, that would be tough.
And yeah, so there's some people that are going to be listening to this that don't know who I am, that don't know anything about me. So I'll just give a quick summary. I'm interested in a whole bunch of things. I spread myself way too thin, and it goes right back to what you were talking about. And it's you're exactly right, man. You know, when you're trying to play the father role and you're trying to make sure the grass is cut and you're putting a head gasket on, you know, the car, and you're doing all these normal things. And then you're like, I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to manage a band and go play gigs every weekend. And then I'm going to sleep for 2 hours and drive 2 hours to a race and race. Oh, but before all that, I have to prep my bike, make sure it's ready and work on it and all that. And then drive home, clean it, put it in the garage, you know, feed the dog. Dude, I mean, it was boom, 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 boom. My life was...
Did you get sick a lot?
No.
Okay, that's good.
No, like usually once or twice a year.
Okay.
But I definitely burned candles at more than both ends. It was a lot.
Yeah, you're lucky you didn't get sick a lot and or get like a lot of nagging injuries.
Yeah.
During that time.
Yeah.
Because that's like you had to be right there multiple times.
Yeah, it was tough to manage. And the decision to hang up the band wasn't. A lot of people were like, "Oh, you had a kid." That's what everyone does. And it wasn't that, man, because I'm willing to go wide open for as long as I can, all the time. Mm-hmm. But it was like I only had so much fuel, you know, like where do I use it?
Something's got to go, yeah.
And it wasn't that I really chose one thing over another. There was a lot of evaluating there. I loved the band. I loved doing it and everything, but, you know.
Dude, I went through that too, like when Levi was born, my first child, and I think like a lot of people say parenting changes them, and I never felt like really parenting changed me, like per se. I don't know if I felt like some sort of shift, but I think what it does is like
it made me soft.
Nah, I think it kind of puts importance of what are the top priorities in your life. So like I was doing competitive powerlifting up to that point, and honestly, I thought I was going to stay with that for like another 5 to 10 years. I was having a pretty good run, had some big goals, and then it was like I got married, and a kid came along right after that, and I'm training, and I'm like, why is it starting to like stress me out? Like, and then it's like I'm stressed because I don't like I'm good on powerlifting. It was like I checked this box off, and now it's like I have these other things in my life, and I'm like, yeah, that was fun. Like I'm good. Like I can walk away from it and be totally cool. And I may never compete again in powerlifting.
Yeah.
But it just made me realize like all these other little things that I thought maybe were more important to me at the time, just kind of like got axed. And I know music is still really important to you, but like that's just my experience of like I scratched that itch, and I was like, okay, that itch is scratched. That's why I'm not enjoying this the way
Yeah.
I should be. Like the fire was kind of gone.
The novelty, the novelty only lasts so long on everything. And, the music thing, it's just like dirt bikes. I will always love music, but when you do what I did, now my band was a cover band. We were a cover band, but we were a very successful cover band. Fortunate. We were very fortunate. And, in the early years, we gigged a lot. And then I backed that off later on. We were together 10 years. Backed it off quite a bit towards the end just to try to manage everything. And then, like I said, shut it down. I had to evaluate some things and make some decisions. But we retired the band, and, everyone likes to say the band broke up, but we never broke up. We just decided that we were going to go out on our terms. And we had a really good final year where we played a lot of cool shows. It was good, but it was time. And, man, it still seems like I don't have enough time for everything. But I'm into so many things, man.
Right.
I have a hot rod sitting downstairs, a muscle car, whatever you want to call it.
Ice cream go-getter, he called it.
Yeah. I haven't touched that car in so many years. Dirt bikes and motorcycles and toys and my daughter and her toys and getting her into dirt bikes, and it's just a lot.
Yeah.
But so short story long about me, and about what I want to do with this podcast. I do want to take all my interests. I'd like to do some live music, some recordings on here, some little jams, some acoustic stuff. I will stay involved in music on some level, probably for the rest of my life. But I want to talk to musicians. I want to talk to people like yourself, business owners, and just have a lot of fun doing this. And hot rods, like I said, an engine builder friend of mine, I want to have him on the show, and we're going to talk about making horsepower and anything I can relate to and I have some knowledge about, I want to talk about, because I know there's some other people out there, some normal, everyday, average people like myself that are into this stuff. So it can be cool. We'll build it. It can be cool. But that's me.
Yeah, it will be cool.
Yep. So, in a nutshell, JYT, Joel Younkins training. You're out in Mineral Ridge, right? You said you're building out there?
Yeah, just about a mile north of 80.
Okay.
And right off of 46. We also do online coaching. So I have a lot of racers as well that don't come to my facility, but we train like from a distance. And send
you
programs.
Just give them like nutrition programs and exercise.
Yeah, I give them workout programs, very similar to what we do right in the facility, and so that gives them a chance. Like, hey, if they want some coaching, but maybe they live who knows where, they may have access to a gym. They could still follow along a program and have that structure to, really just take out the guesswork for them. And so we do that. Can I plug my podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it.
Also since we're talking moto here, I have a motocross training podcast. That's what it's called.
Okay.
Motocross training. And it's not like this. It's not like as laid back. It's more informative. So, each episode is a certain topic, and I kind of just cover through that topic. I want to knock out the episode as you're driving to work, 15 to 30 minutes max,
Gotcha.
and just trying to shoot you some information and trying to help, really just kind of wrap your head around some topics that a lot of people get confused on. So just trying to give you something to kind of chew on and sort out through like your own racing situation. Yeah, that's about it.
So before we wrap it up, give the listeners and the viewers, give them one thing that you would do that you don't think enough people do as far as training or nutrition. Well, and for this one, it's just going to be dirt bikes, right?
Okay.
And then
For dirt bike racers.
yeah, and then on the flip side of that coin, something that maybe is a misconception, like a don't do, like stop doing this. Some people think, I should eat a big Snickers bar. I'll never forget, we were going to a race. Your dad was driving. You and I were, and I think I bought a Snickers and a Monster. And I'm like, I'm just going to get all jacked up on this stuff and go race. And your dad's like, you're going to cramp up. He's like, why are you eating
Getting
that
the
garbage?
GYT advice.
I was like, no, I'm fine. And I remember I think I did get like a gut cramp or something happened to my stomach. I remember feeling horrible that race.
Yeah.
So yeah, one good solid piece of advice, what would you do? And then something maybe that you think a lot of people, there's a misconception about.
I would say the number one thing is to have like a plan and then execute that plan. A lot of people just do random stuff all the time, and they're kind of basing it off of like, well, I'll do this thing for a little bit, and they're doing this thing, and there's never a consistency. So like no matter what, like if you like, we can like argue exercises and like do this thing or that thing until you're blue in the face, but the reality is like if you don't do like if you're not giving your body something to adapt to, which is like a routine, it's just kind of like spinning all over the place. Like you're just kind of stressing yourself out and not going anywhere. So that's where like just having structure and a plan of attack is, even if it's a terrible plan, it's going to put you ahead because your body's going to be able to keep adapting to it and growing. Like if you ran a mile and then
This fly,
we're gonna murder this thing.
We have a fly in the room for people that can't see. There's a fly that is in love with Joel right now.
It was flying around your hair a little bit
Was
ago.
it?
Yeah.
I stink too much.
So yeah, I think like just having a plan and like having a plan of attack and just doing it and executing it is where a lot of people just kind of miss that boat. I know it's not really fancy, but it's
Have a plan.
Yeah, like, and it could be a lot of different things. And I think a misconception that a lot of racers have is, it's probably a lot of them. I cover a lot of them on my podcast.
Let's do one about nutrition. Unless you had some.
I kind of did have something. So I just want to make sure I have my thoughts straight because I can go down to like a deep rabbit hole with this.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So a lot of racers, like, there's this weird misconception that like you shouldn't strength train, or like you should only lift the light weights, or like you should barely lift. The misconception with that is like, everybody talks about how hardcore racing is and how it's the most grueling sport and it's so demanding and dangerous and this and that. And like everybody wants to kind of wear that as like a pride, like a badge of honor. But then like when it comes time to actually train hard, like, and to get strong and strengthen your body, like nobody wants to do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they do, but like there's a big majority still. I think it's shifting quite a bit, to be honest. But there's a big majority of people that, they think it's misplaced. And like every other sport in this world that's physical, people are strength training for. Golf, athletes are strength training if they're serious. Tennis, I'm not like, saying those sports aren't like hard or nothing, but like, they're doing it, and like your common, like, maybe your common thought process wouldn't be like, well, you don't really need to lift a golf, but like they're lifting because there's benefits to it. And even like, and then the theory is don't lift because it's going to ruin your cardio. Well, like, I have friends that do triathlons and they strength train. They may not strength train like a bodybuilder or a power lifter, but they're strength training to some degree. So like, if you're not strength training, you're really missing the boat. And if you want to train to get strong, not to get, to build size, what we call like hypertrophy. So like, you want to train to like be a strong athlete, and to do that, you gotta be able to lift some weight and, build yourself up. Like my longest, like you're not gonna just bulk up because you lifted weights for a few weeks. If you're a competitive racer, you don't have time to get huge. There's not enough time to lift because you have so many other competing demands of riding, doing conditioning, which we all know we should be doing.
Yep.
So like once you start doing that, like there's no time left to get jacked and huge.
Yeah.
If it was that easy.
And the rest portion of it,
Yeah, there's just not enough time to recover to do it all.
Right.
And your body just won't adapt to multiple things like that. So, for example, like one of my longest athletes I've worked with is Jeremy Han, who now is, races Supercross and outdoor nationals. And we've been working together since 2013 when I officially opened.
Wow.
So he was like 15, came in off of 2 broken hips. Dad's like, hey, we still want to race, but if he's going to do this, we want him to come to you. We want to do this right from here on out. So Jeremy's strong. Like if you watched him come in the gym, like he moves some weight. And I don't usually give out too many like personal stats, but, he's in between 150 and 175, like body weight wise. Like he's like, if you look at him, like, oh, he looks solid, but like he's strong and he lifts a lot, but like he doesn't have time to actually blow up and like ruin your cardio gains.
Right.
But he can use that to his advantage because now it's like, hopefully we can reduce injuries when he falls, which is like a number 1 priority. And then 2, like the stronger you are, like we hold riding positions and there's a strength component to everything. So like if you're strong enough to hold these positions and like basically turn your body into its own suspension. So like we put money into like putting suspension on our bikes and upgrading that. But we can also upgrade our bodies by absorbing those forces and holding positions and just not. And the bikes are heavy, so like there's a lot of forces going on and weight that we're trying to manipulate. So if you can prepare your body to be strong enough, and it's gonna like relatively feel light to you.
Yeah.
So
like I would say something I started envisioning when you were talking about that was rowing. And why do you think people row? Because your dang hands are on handlebars for the whole time. And you're pulling back, like you are rowing a lot. Like if you manual anything on a dirt bike, you're rowing.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing,
And a combination of like doing, so like rowing is a basic human movement. Like whether we pull this, back or anything you do in life, like that's just how we're designed. So like if you could perform some rows and get yourself strong, but then use maybe a rowing machine. You can do whatever, but like, and you add conditioning to that strength, well, then that's kind of the perfect kind of combination. And you're just kind of playing with, certain different like sport profiles. And then it kind of just becomes like an art of like, how much do you want to do of each? So,
yeah. I always liked, earlier we mentioned the military. In the military, unless you go and lift, most of it's just on your own body weight. So push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups and whatever. And I did always gravitate towards high reps. I always, like even when I was lifting weights, when I would go to the gym, I always enjoyed and I always felt like I made the biggest gains. And I don't mean gains like getting huge, because I never did get huge.
Yeah, it's really hard to.
Yeah, I made strength gains, and I felt super athletic, and I was, I don't know, I felt really good when I did high reps versus like just doing like a set of 10 for warm up and then going down to my 1 rep max or something. Like I loved doing a set of 20 on the bench,
Yeah.
and then working down from that. So
Yeah,
I don't know if that's good, bad, or otherwise
it's all good. The way like I think a lot of people need to look at training, and we can make it as complicated as we want, but let's simplify it first. And the easiest way I explain is, okay, if you work on your dirt bike, you have a tool, like a toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kind of different tools, and like we don't just use like a screwdriver to work on everything on your bike. You may need some Allen wrenches, you may need this, you may need that. That's the same way training is.
Yep.
The exercises and then the methods that you use with those exercises, those are all just different tools in a toolbox. So it's like kind of knowing when to place things in at the right time to kind of get the results you want. And that's the tricky part. That's where you have to kind of know training and the human body and things like that. So but yeah, it's really just kind of everything's good and everything works, and then sometimes that's also a problem too. So
yeah. But in a nutshell, you said have a plan.
Yep.
And strength training's not a bad thing for dirt bikers, right?
No, and I'm not even trying to be biased just because like I played football and was in powerlifting, but
Right.
like,
you need to be strong.
Yeah, you do.
Even if you're not big. A lot of people think you need to be big to be strong.
Yeah, no, and actually that's really like backwards. So like to get strong, to train for strength, so like you're talking about higher reps, that's actually better to train for muscle size. And if you want to actually get really, really strong, you want to train heavier weights, later reps with more rest intervals, because that's going to train your nervous system, which is actually not you can build muscle, but it's not a great way to build muscle.
Wait, I got lost right there.
Okay.
Repeat that. So you're saying less reps
with higher intensity, more
weight is better for what?
To get strong.
But not big?
Yeah, like you can gain muscle, but it's not a great way.
Oh, and you're saying higher reps is better to get bigger?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
That's why bodybuilders, if you watch like a classical bodybuilding routine, it's all 8 through 20.
No kidding.
It's all high reps. It's more volume.
See, I had a misconception. Mm-hmm. Like back when I was lifting, I got bigger than...
And you will get strong too.
Yeah.
That's why it's all good.
Yeah.
So, but as a racer who maybe is concerned with like, hey, I want to be strong, but I don't want to get too jacked, because it's that easy. But,
right. Yeah.
Like you actually want to, if you gear it towards, training your nervous system and getting more neural strength, nervous system being your brain and your spinal cord that sends nerves out to do all the functions that our body does, is basically our like our ECU units on the bike. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. Like they remap them. So like if you can remap your nervous system, not remap it, but upgrade it, it's going to actually help your like muscles fire faster, more efficiently, and all those kind of things. So that's really what my aim is when I work with racers and, a lot of athletes. And then the secondary effects of adding size, that's honestly more just like, sport to sport, there's some like position, like certain positions that may need more muscle size, but it's really more just like cushion for your body for impacts. So like it's like added protection,
and
is the benefit
also,
for athletes.
Isn't it better for, like you said, cushion, but having muscle around a joint isn't that better just for, reducing the likelihood of injury, like from lifting something? Like if you are, like say your shoulder, if you have a nice strong shoulder and you have a lot of muscle on your shoulder surrounding your rotator cuff and any other inner workings, don't you have a better chance at not getting injured from lifting something? Or am I wrong? I always thought, like if you get skinny and frail.
Yeah, that doesn't help things, but
because they always say like your core. They always say like if you want your back to be good, make your core strong, and
yeah, you definitely want to have like a balance. So it's
kind
of where like
support system.
I think kind of where that kind of comes in play, where like if you want healthy shoulders, make sure your backside of your shoulders are strong enough so that like your shoulders don't start rounding forward, and then that's gonna like put stress on things where like your shoulder's not going to be balanced. It may be huge, but like if the backside and like your the backside of like your shoulder, and not to get technical, but like in your shoulder blades, if they're not like in good posture,
Scapula.
yeah,
I know a word.
you know some words.
I know a word.
So like if you're not lined up, then yeah, that's going to cause some strain and like potential injury.
Yeah.
So as well as like building that muscle mass that you need as an athlete, that helps keep you you know like less injury prone. That like joint integrity, that structure will help with that as well. Like it's kind of like the whole like balancing out your body.
Gotcha.
So like if you bench a lot, you want to like row a lot too, just so your body's not keeping things equal. If your quads are getting too strong and your hamstrings are lagging, then you're gonna have some issues. Maybe some low back pain or pulling hamstrings and things like that. So
yeah,
ACL injury is another one, especially for females.
Yeah.
So
like you said, it's a deep, deep rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's endless. Like the problem is we didn't create the human body, so like we're never probably gonna know all the answers.
Yeah.
Like there's only a few things where like as like people in this industry like are for sure on, like that kind of data just kind of shows over and over. Like we have a pretty good understanding of certain things, but there's a lot of things that still like there's just theories and people scratching their heads at that.
Oh yeah.
You think but you kind of see things in person, but you can't really back it up with data either. So that kind of goes on as well. But
yeah. Well.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to get together again and have a show just on that specific topic.
Okay.
Nutrition, lifting, training, all that other stuff. But we wanted to talk about the dirt bike series and the racing series and you getting back into the sport.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's fun.
The team that I'm a part of this year and that you could be a part of if you get a blue bike, one of these days. But no, that's about it, man. I think, unless there's something else that you think that we need to cover.
No, I think the first round at EROC was cool. Thought the track was, it was a good layout. It was safe.
Yeah.
Like you could tell they set the track up with, a race in mind. And, just because sometimes I think certain things are good for trail riding. Or like, hey, maybe you can ride on a utility quad through that, but it's maybe not going to race well.
Right.
So I could tell they really brought like a racer mentality to setting the track up, which was refreshing. And, yeah, it was cool.
Looking forward to round 2. That's the 16th.
Yeah, I didn't really have my best first round. So looking forward to,
we'll
a little more fight.
We'll work on that.
Yeah.
We got to get together and get some riding in. But
yeah. Well, I kind of had the same problem where like I was talking about like with life, like by last Saturday, like the day before the race, I was just like tapped out.
Yeah.
And I was just like, at that verge of like, why am I even doing this anymore?
Yeah.
And I was just burned out by the time the race came. And, when you bring your B- game, when you need your A game,
I go through
it is what it is. So
yeah,
you're never going to ride the way you want to, but it was fun.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Track was fun. So definitely had some good moments, just not a good 2 hours.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, I need everybody to check out Joel Younkins training. And what about your social media? Where can they find you on there? Just check your name out on there?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Joel Younkins, and then Facebook page is Joel Younkins Training. Website is jytraining.com.
Okay. Don't you have some, you still doing the protein thing?
No.
No? Okay. We won't plug that then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't ask about that. No.
Okay. That was the one thing. But yeah, check them out, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.